Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm gonna be showing you a nice build order that you can also reproduce at every level. If you're watching this, your gold, diamond, GM, whatever, you can do this at every level. I'm gonna show you all the variations you can do to make it easier or harder depending on your level. So this build is simple. It's a Colossus style where you want to hit a timing attack with Colossus, obviously, with Immortals and Archons. Beforehand, we're gonna be doing some pressure with Oracles and Adepts, so I hope you like it. So 14 pylon, as you know. So when I say 14, I obviously mean 14 supply. I assume most of you guys will be familiar with this. The moment your pylon finishes, you get your gateway up. Make sure you chrono boost your nexus. That's a mistake I see a lot of people do. Usually people are at like diamond and below will forget very frequently to actually chrono boost their nexus, which will actually reduce their economy in the game, which is not ideal. So make sure you chrono boost the nexus the moment your pylon finishes. Then your probe that has just made the gateway will go and scout. Now, if you put myself in my perspective, now there's a hatchery. This is what I want to know. If there's no hatchery and there's a pool, like a 12 pool or something like this, then I will react to it, obviously, and adjust. But you know, I asked my friend Mixu to play a game with me to show you this tutorial, so I would assume it would not cheese me, obviously, right? This is not really the purpose here. So at 20 supply, I get my nexus, and the probe that makes the nexus will also make a core at 150. There you go. Obviously, I make a gas before, right? This is the standard build, right? This is the most standard opener you will find in this matchup. Gateway 16, gas 17, nexus 20, core 20. Then at 21 you get an assimilator, and at 22 there you go, you make a probe or a pylon, I should say. So why do I make this pylon over here? This is not the biggest deal in the world, but the reason why I make the pylon here is so that I can get the Stargate on the very edge of my main, and because of this the Oracle will have less distance to travel to get towards my opponent's base, right? This finishes Adept, Chrono Boost, Probe, Chrono Boost, and Stargate, right? So this is really important. I'm just going to repeat it. The moment your cybernetic score finishes, you Chrono Boost and Adept, then you Chrono Boost your probes, and you make your Stargate. A Stargate needs 150 gas to get built, so please do not wait until you have 300 gas to make it. Try to make it as early as you can afford it. This is really important. This is really the basics of macro in this matchup, and if you're able to have a clean early game, it will make a big difference for the later stages of the game. Now, my probe hasn't seen much of anything aside from 2 Zerglings. Now what I want to achieve with this probe is to see whether or not my opponent has a third. If there's no third, it means that I'm probably getting all in. Then I would need to make perhaps a battery, a void ray, and so on. But there's a third, so I know I'm safe. So I can just go home nicely and play a bit greedier. By greedier, I mean I can delay my gateway in the wall. I don't need to rush it. I know I'm safe for a while, so I will just make it at 320, which is 10 seconds before link speed finishes. The moment your Stargate finishes, you queue an Oracle and try to chrono boost it. And then at 42, you should make your pylon. This pylon is super easy to forget. Don't forget it. Well, easier said than done, obviously, but try not to forget this pylon. Because if you forget it, you will not be able to queue Oracle number 2, which is going to ultimately delay everything else. So it's a very big deal to not forget this pylon. And the reason why it's key to actually find a hatchery, it is because then you can play greedier and make the pylon before the wall, which is going to make your build a little bit more smooth, right? Smoother, right? Jesus Christ, English is hard. I wish French was the international language. It would make my life so much easier. But as of now, I will transfer 2 adepts towards my third. The reason I do this is because I want to take my third as safely as possible. Usually there are Zerglings here bothering me. You will see the next replay that is the case. But here it's not the case, so I can just nicely make my nexus. Make sure you do not miss a beat when it comes to making pylons. You will need supply for oracles, for adepts, and probes, and if your supply block is gonna delay all the strategy. The purpose of this build is to hit a somewhat early timing attack with 6 adepts and 3 oracles. So if you're supply blocked and you're unable to warp in extra adepts or make your third oracle, for example, is gonna be quite catastrophic. So please do not miss a beat when it comes to pylons. Better make more than not enough. That's the idea. If you pay close attention to the production tab in the top right left corner, I'm never missing a beat when it comes to making workers. This little dance I'm doing here, you do it if you're decently high level or you feel comfortable with your micro. If this is too hard for you to do, if doing this means you have to sacrifice your worker production, your adept production and so on, then do not do it, right? Do not sacrifice your build order just to get a couple of workers. It's not worth it. Always prioritize your macro first, and then with your remaining attention you've got, then you can micro, control your units, multitask and so on, but always macro first. Numero uno. Then I will shade with 6 adepts, so I just warped in 2 extra, I have 6 adepts, and finally my third oracle is done. So if you do it perfectly, your 6 adepts and 3 oracles should arrive to his side of the map in a simultaneous manner. In the meantime, I get 2 gases and a robo. Obviously, if you want to make Colossus, getting a robo is going to be quite useful. And the moment my Nexus finishes, you want to chrono boost. Ideally, you chrono boost all 3 of them. So what I would recommend to make it smoother when you play it is you park your units over here, rapidly go home and chrono boost every Nexus and just press E really hard. Just queue many probes so you make sure you do not miss a beat. And then finally you control your shit. Because if you attack with your adepts and oracles and you forget to make probes for an entire minute, you basically miss like 15 probes. This is too big of a mistake. So here I decide to shade in aggressively. You don't need to do this. This is a little bit aggressive, to be fair. You don't need to do that, right? You can just stick around and deal some damage. But even if I'm trading poorly, right? Even if I'm trading poorly, look at the unit count in the top left. I have more workers than the Zerg, which means I'm in a great spot. I'm doing great. I have all the tech on my way. Speaking of tech, the moment your robo finishes, you get an observer, robo bay, right? The moment your robo finishes, you get a robotics bay. Second robo, observer immortal. We don't want to just leave the robo idle, which is why we're making an observer and an immortal, right? We always want this building to work. Those buildings provide, the best units that we can get in this matchup, most likely, right? Aside from the High Templar, I guess. So you really never want this building to sleep. Then whenever you can afford it, you get a 4th and a Twilight Cancel. Your gases as your 3rd. It feels like there's so much stuff going on. I don't know if you can actually follow properly, but if you forget about something, you can just go back. I will post the replay in the description, most likely, so you can actually take a look at them properly. And the moment your robotics bay finishes, I should say, you get double Colossus. It's really important to chrono boost them, right? And make sure you have supply available. When your robo is halfway complete, this guy is halfway complete, make sure you get a pair of pylons or 3 pylons to make sure you have supply ready to welcome these guys to the field. Now, when it comes to scouting, around 6:20, 6:40, 7 minutes, this is the time where I need to know what's going on. Is there a spire? Is there a hydraulic den? Is there something like this? Well, this guy will provide some information. This observer will tell me whether there's a hive being produced. Knowing whether a hive is being made is really important, because if there's a hive, it means it has vipers, right? And vipers are the main counter to Colossus, so I really want to know whether it's making a hive, so I can actually get High Templars to feed back the vipers as a counter, right? So this is why you need to know if it's making a hive. Then you want to know what kind of units it's making. Here I found that it's making roaches and hydras with my oracles, right? You can use revelations in order to do this. Well, here I know pretty much all I need. And my observer is going to come back. Let's see if he's making a hive. He's making a hive. So now, what do I know? I know roaches, hydras, hive. It's pretty obvious to me right now that it's going into lurkers and vipers. So what do I need to do in response to this? What's the counter to roaches and lurkers? Immortals, we're making them. What is the counter to vipers? Storm, and namely High Templars to feedback. So I'm gonna research Storm. Come on, click Storm, motherfucker, click. Well, I'm gonna research Storm in a few seconds anyway. And yeah, there you go. And I don't need 1,000 High Templars, just 3 or 4 is enough. Storm and Colossus against Hydras pretty much serve the same purpose, right? So, which is to kill the light units. The High Templars at this point are more important to feed back the Vipers than anything else. So here there's a little skirmish, right? Just warp in. This is a trick you can do. You warp in units to block the door, and then you warp in a sentry behind to force field, so the units don't get in. It would be a bit silly to lose like this. Now, what's my game plan? What's going through my head right now? Where I know is going to try to get lurkers and vipers, as I said. So I want to get a big bulk of units, of good units, namely immortals, archons, and colossus. Right? This is why I get extra gases here. I don't care so much about minerals. I care about gas, because I'm not gonna win the game with zealots. I'm gonna win the game with immortals, archons, high templars, with strong units. This is what is gonna bring a lot of DPS and robustness in my army. I don't even know if it's a word, but for today it's going to be a word. So, as you can see, I'm putting some stasis traps on the opposite side. That's something you can do yourself. If you have your army on the right, put some stasis traps on the left. This will act as a scout, and it will act as a, if you walk into it, well, I know about it. So this is something you can do. I put even more stasis trap out there, so I can have vision and I don't get caught out of position. Now, what's my goal? Well, my goal is to wait to have a big army, right? Colossus and so on. And whenever my army is good enough, and by good enough I mean 180 supply, then finally I can go for it. Because their army will get not out of control, but they will use niduses and put spores everywhere, then it will be very difficult to actually finish the game. They will use multitasking and so on. But if you're able to hit a nice timing attack with a very powerful army, like I'm about to do here, then you have a shot at winning. Now, 180 supply is the moment you can actually move out on the map. Make sure you have your upgrades coming. If you can hit with +2, it's a big deal. +2 actually makes a big difference in terms of DPS. Just having +2 instead of +1 adds roughly 10% extra DPS in your army. It's huge. Like 10% is massive. And now you want to use your oracles to actually find the army. Always get a concave. See, I'm not in one big box. I have units here, 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 a big concave, and then you go for it. Make sure you tag the lurkers. You have a reliable source of detection, and then just go for it, right? Make sure you have a wide concave and trust your army. Immortals are actually unbelievably good against lurkers, so you really want to trust them. As you can see, it's blinking in the minimap. There's a little bit of a skirmish going on here. I'm being harassed. It's fine. And because I play conservative with my oracles, it means I can have lots of revelations. If I just suicided them just to get a bunch of workers, I wouldn't have all the revelations in the world, right? So right now I can tag all the lurkers. It's a quick and effective and reliable source of detection. So I can just get rid of the lurkers. And you can see I have 34 probes here. Why 34 is because I send the probes from my 4th over there to my 3rd to save them, and I will put them back to work, right? And now my job is to wait for these guys to come. I'm not gonna fight with almost 30 supply not being here. So I'm just gonna put the probes back to work, and just now I've got the army I want. I've got the upgrades I want. I know my opponent has no broodlords or anything like this. I know that if I attack right now, I'm going to win. So I don't want to waste any more time. I want to go for it. So do it in 3 steps. First step is to have a wide concave like this. Step 2, make sure you relevate your opponent's army. And then you use your high templars to feed back the vipers, right? Actually, I think I fucked up a little bit, but you can see here, I'm well spread out in a beautiful concave, and I just go for it. Then I use my oracles, I tag the top, I tag the bottom, and then you do the most beautiful A move I've ever seen before, right? It's not too complex, to be fair, right? First, concave. Second, you tag the army. And 3, you go for it. And then you can only control the high templars to feed back the vipers if you need to. But that's pretty much it. But the key here is to make sure you have vision over the lurkers, and you, by tagging them obviously, and you make sure you have a wide concave. If your army is bunched in one big block, all the lurkers are going to deal lots of damage to your army, because obviously they shoot in a line, and your army will not be able to shoot freely because, well, obviously your army is just in a big box, should be in a line. So always make sure you get a concave. Alright, so another game with this strategy, and I want to show you what it looks like from my own perspective. So this is a replay that I actually filmed myself earlier today, so I played that game against Mixu as well. So I want to show you, what it looks like from my perspective, so you can actually see exactly what I'm looking at every single moment, and I will try to commentate in real time to show you exactly what goes through my head, what I'm trying to achieve, what I'm trying to do, and so on. So as you can see, pylon 14, nothing extraordinary. My probe that made a pylon mines some mineral and then goes back to make a gate. If you're lower league, don't bother about that, it doesn't matter. You can just leave the probe around, no big deal. This is just 5 extra minerals, but if you're a higher league player, you can try to optimize everything you can. Assimilator at 17 supply, and the moment you make your gate, make sure you cross the map with your probe to scout, and make sure you chrono boost your nexus as well if you want to actually have some minerals. Being broke is not actually a good strategy to win at this game, turns out. So, as you can see, my assimilator goes down. I'm gonna put 2 probes inside it. I would recommend, if you're maybe diamond or below, just put 3 probes inside it right away. But it's a bit more optimal to put 2 and then rally the 3rd one later. But if it's easy for you to forget and so on, just put 3 inside it, no big deal. Nexus 20 supply, the probe is trying to harass the minerals. Once again, this is only pro gamer kind of shit. If you're GM, you can do it, but don't bother with this. This is not a big deal, right? Don't bother with it. 20 supply core, obviously. So the probe that makes the nexus is also the probe that is going to make the cybernetics core. And then finally, you resume probes. At 21, you make your second gas. And then you will rally out. You see, I just rallied out my probe once again. 22 pylon, and the pylon is made in such a way that I can make my Stargate as far away as possible, as close to the Zerg, so my Oracle gets there faster. You know, it's not the biggest deal either, but if you want to optimize, refine your play, and make things a bit more optimal, then you do this. Now your gateway finishes, or your core finishes, I should say. You get your Stargate, and you get an Adept. You want to chrono boost your Adept. Why? Because if you're getting Ling rushed, and God knows it's very common in lower leagues, you want to have your Adept on time. Do not die, right? Obviously. What am I trying to do with this probe? Well, once again, I want to know whether he has a 3rd. Now I decide to move out with my Adept because I know I'm safe. I saw only 2 links go out. I have all the information that I need, so I decide to cross the map with my Adepts. If you feel unsafe, if you're scared of Zergling run-bys, you can leave your Adept at home. It's perfectly fine, right? As you can see, I'm chrono boosting my probes, obviously never missing a beat. Now with the shade, I can spot how many drones he's got. There's the 3rd base, he's got plenty of drones. I know I'm safe, I know we'll be fine. And obviously you're not missing a beat with the macro at home. Keep on making probes, right? You want your play to be as optimal as possible. You queue your Oracle whenever your Stargate finishes, then 3rd Adept, and then your pylon. The pylon should be made at around 42 supply, right? More or less. And then finally you complete your wall, and as you can see, the moment you make your gateway is gonna be, I should say the gateway will be finished the moment your warp gate finishes, which means you can warp into Adepts, right? I'm trying to express myself in the best possible way, but I'm French after all, I'm doing my best. So the Oracle flies to the Zerg base. Once again, we're allowing ourselves to make our 3rd base. That's a bit annoying, right? This is why some people do, including myself, I keep my Oracle at home, so this doesn't happen, right? Because losing the probe is a little bit painful, right? It delays your nexus by a good 15 seconds, which is not ideal, but not the end of the world. So I keep on making oracles. Remember, our goal is to have 3 oracles and 6 adepts. That's the pressure. So if you delay your adepts, or if you're supply blocked when you want to make adepts, this is gonna delay tremendously your strategy. Here, I decide to make a stalker because I saw this overlord. I want to get rid of this overlord because, well, I love killing overlords. That's the first reason. And the second reason is this overlord gives all the information to the Zerg. It will know that I'm crossing the map. So I want to get rid of it so it doesn't know what I'm doing exactly, right? Now, my 3rd oracle is ready. And I can just warp in 2 extra adepts and just go for it. So once again, the goal of this is to force units. That's the main thing you can do. You also want to kill some creep if you can. And if you have an opportunity to deal damage, then go ahead and do it, right? But you don't want to sacrifice your adepts just for the sake of sacrificing them, right? Here I can clear all the creep. You can see I get information as well. There you go, I just cancel the shade. The robo finishes, you get your robo right away. Really important to not delay too much this building. And you can see this little dance I'm doing, right? I'm shading, killing some creep, and then I just go home and macro, right? You have this little rhythm, right? So now I'm just paying attention to it, and then I go home, chrono boost every nexus, transfer my probe, start my immortal, right? I macro up, and then once the macro has been done, I make double pylon, and then I can go back to my screen, the aggressive screen. And I get some damage, I can kill a creep tumor, I can steal my shade, obviously. No, actually, I went for it. I went for it like a real man, so here I can get a lot of drones. You can see this position over there in between the murals, all the turning a little bit stuck, and I can use Miracle in support. Once again, I want to keep my adepts alive if possible. Now, once I shade out, I use the downtime to macro. It's really important to not miss a beat in terms of macro, otherwise you're going to be floating lots of money. If this is too hard to do, don't bother, you know, just make sure you macro. You could even just leave the adepts at home and take it easy if it's really difficult for you. You know, the most important is to get the key units. That's the main part. And then you add the micro, the multitasking and so on. But first, you must get all the quality units. That's the main purpose of the strategy. Our game plan is to hit a strong timing attack with Colossus, Immortals and Archons. So if you have to sacrifice your whole Bureau integrity just to kill a creep tumor, it's not going to be worth it. You use all your attention to macro and follow your build, and then with the remainder attention you've got, then you can harass and poke and so on, right? But always macro first. So you can see I'm keep on developing, you know, I get 8 gateways in total, so I have 2, so I add 6 for a total of 8, and the robos are always working. So you see here, I see a lot of roaches, so I get a little bit scared. I saw a lot of roaches, which is not super typical, so I will make a pair of batteries just to be safe. And notice, my oracles are always looking for the roaches. I want to make sure I'm not getting caught out of position. So I decided to keep my oracles and my adepts alive, but they're not really super useful anymore in the later stages of the game. So as you can you see on the minimap the 2 little red dots walking towards the right? These are 2 adepts that will be sent towards the 4th to try and kill some drones. Always try to make some moves, you know. If it's too hard, don't bother, no big deal. Just make sure the macro is tight, that's the main part. So here we're gonna kill a couple drones, always nice, you know, every opportunity you can get, you take it. And well, there's no production tab obviously, but here I'm always making immortals. And with the remainder money that I have, I will make extra gateways. So I have a lot of gates to work with, and I can actually reproduce high units, because that's the thing as well. If you have a high gateway count, when you attack, you technically are over 200 supply, because you can warp in instantly more units on the battlefield. So it's really important. So here I get completely caught off guard. Actually, I didn't really expect that. But because I macroed very well, I have all the units I need and I have a lot of firepower. As you can see, there are 5 immortals on the field that are shooting away at all the roaches and the zerglings. I warped in units in emergency, I repowered my battery so I can have as many units as I can, and I pull my oracles back and I can shoot the ravagers. These are the super expensive units, they cost a lot of gas, so make sure you can fire away at the ravagers. You can just turn on your oracles and just shift click move on your enemies' ravagers. So you see, I was caught completely out of position. I had no stasis trap. I didn't even see the guy coming, but no big deal. If you macro right, you will have so many units that you should be fine, right? Theoretically, at least. Try to not reproduce my mistakes. Try to make sure you know your opponent is going for it. Perhaps having an observer in front of your base could give you the intel. But that's pretty much it. So I would love to go for a timing attack at some point, but as of now, I need to bulk up and defend. My opponent is making roaches. Roaches are garbage, that's right. So the longer the game goes on, the bulkier my army, the better. Because immortals are way more powerful in bigger numbers than smaller numbers, right? So time is my friend as of now. I'm getting rid of some roaches. My idea right now, my goal, is to survive for maybe 2 more minutes so that I can finally gather a huge army, and with this huge army I'm gonna be able to go for it. But as it stands, I don't really care too much, you know, about attacking as I need a bigger bulk. I'm at 150 supply if you look at the top right hand corner. So I want maybe a little more, maybe 175. This is the moment I can consider crossing the map. And that's pretty much it. So now, whenever something a bit dramatic happened, make sure you check all your bases and check if they have 3 probes per gas. And check also if there is no probes being killed, and you can maybe make a couple more, right? Now I'm at 170 supply. Finally, I want to move out on the map. My army is fucking huge. It's very serious right now, so I can actually have the opportunity to move out on the map. I need to locate the roaches. Now I know he was walking home with the roaches, but now I'm doing a pretty bad job. Like my oracles, if I were playing perfectly, my oracle should be looking for the roaches and tagging them, which is not what I'm doing. So that's a little bit of a mistake. I'll be perfectly transparent with you guys. But I still want to hit a timing, because if I wait too long, maybe he's gonna get lurkers, maybe he's gonna get, I don't know, rulers, whatever. Probably not in this scenario, to be fair, but I still want to hit when my army is as strong as it is right now. You can see my army is just quality units, right? Only roaches, only immortals, archons, and so on. So I'm being aggressed at home. It's okay. I'm splitting a couple probes here and there just to make sure if it goes into a base trade, I have more than enough workers hidden in the map to actually make a base and not die to the buildings. But I can see right now my minimap is no longer blinking. I know he's heading back home. I see a Viper, so I just want to get back a little bit, make sure my units don't get abducted. So I want to get a couple High Templars to make sure I can feed back the Vipers. This is really important. Here I just lose some probes, we don't care. So even if you lose probes, even if you lose your base, who fucking cares? Like, your army is so good at this point. How is he gonna stop this, right? There's no way he's gonna be stopping this, right? There's no stopping me. So 3 High Templars is more than enough. Right now I'm just, you know, putting the probes back to work properly. And then finally I can go for it. Here I see the Vipers. I'm pulling back a little bit. Now I put my High Templars in front. He's trying to go for them, but my army is just too big. I just feed back the Vipers, so he's unable to abduct anything. And even if he does a 360 around you, your army is just so good that it does not even matter, you know. It doesn't matter, your army, your firepower is just so high, and this is it. So this is not too hard of a build, right? It's pretty straightforward in the end. It's a pretty good strategy, but the game plan, the idea is really, first, you macro really hard, you get adepts, 6 adepts, 3 oracles to scout, night creep, deal some damage, force units. Then you want to go into Colossus, which are going to be great against Hydras. You get Immortals, and whenever you have a big bulk of units with good upgrades, but especially a big bulk of units, Immortals and so on, then you go for it and try to kill the guy. Make sure that you're not getting caught off guard by Broodlords or whatever. If he's going into Broodlords, then fine, you can go into Blink, you can go into Tempest, and go into the later stages of the game. But that's pretty much it for the strategy. I hope you liked it, and if you did, well, I'll be posting some more. Have a good one.